Hello.
Good evening.
Welcome to Testimony Tuesday.
Welcome once again.
We are super excited to have you join us on today.
Absolutely.
We are super excited. Go ahead and
like, tag, and share.
Thank you.
Come on, y'all know the routine.
Go ahead and like, tag, and share.
Yes.
We have a special guest with us on tonight, and we are super excited. As we get started, Testimony Tuesday is a platform that we use to glorify God, to tell of his goodness, what he has done, and what he is still doing.
Yeah.
And so we believe that people need to hear that God is still working miracles. He is still sitting high and looking low. He still has us in mind. And despite what we see and what's going on and what's happening, God is still working on our behalf. And so we are super excited to have you join us on tonight. Tell a friend. This month, we are talking about grief. And so we have some special guests who are going to share their stories of their grief journey. And so, we're excited. Tell someone that may need to hear this, that may need to understand how to make it in the midst of what they may be going through.
Yeah.
And so before we get started with our special guest, I want to personally say thank you on behalf of my husband and myself for all who came out and supported us on this weekend as we had our cheer exhibition. It was amazing. All of the teams were amazing. Thank you to all of the coaches, all of the vendors, all of the volunteers that made it happen. The tribute was absolutely amazing. Rolling Chapel and I Believe God Outreach Church, they did an amazing tribute to our babies. And so we are so grateful to you all for that. Absolutely. And so we just want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts. It was just what we needed, to help us through that moment. 15 years. Wow.
And sometimes people say it don't seem like it's been that long, but it seems like it's been that long.
15 years,
yes. Quick about the time.
It is true.
Nevertheless, we're still here.
But we are here.
Yeah.
And that is why after they danced to the song, I wanted I Believe God to come back and minister that song, because the devil tried it, but we're still here.
Yes.
And so I tell God, thank you.
Yes.
And so here is another that is still here.
Yeah.
My. And so Testimony Tuesday is based off of Revelations, and we're going to have June read. Well, tell us where it's from, June.
Yes, from Revelation chapter 12, verses 10 and 11. Mm-hmm. And it says, "And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength, and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And they loved not their lives unto the death."
So there is power in the testimony.
There is power in the testimony.
And so we want to jump right in with our special guest, Facetia Branch.
Yeah.
And so I worked with Facetia years ago at Henderson Middle School. I felt like we had just an amazing team. It was just
family.
It was family. It really, really was, under the leadership of Mr. Victor Fenner. Mr. Fenner. And so it was just so wonderful. And Miss Pugh, who has transitioned, but just such a great team. Just family. We were just family. And so you are now, so you were teaching then, and now you are in administration. Look at God. Still with Vance County Schools. I'm super excited about that. And so you have just done amazing things. Yes. And so you have beautiful babies, and we're going to hear more about your babies and a little bit more about your story. So I want you to take us back to what life looked like before October the 29th.
Okay. So I've been divorced since October of 2013. So from that point to now, actually, it's pretty much been me and my babies. I thank God for my support system with my family, my mom, my sisters, my aunts. Everybody, pitch in and help out where it was needed. But for the most part, it's just been me and them since then. And they keep me busy.
Absolutely.
They are involved with everything. At one point, my Asia, she played ball. She played volleyball, she played basketball, and she played softball. And not only did she play softball for the school, she played softball for the rec department, and she played on the traveling ball team. And with the traveling ball team, they played from January to December. So we were always busy with her. And then with KT, he played a lot of rec sports too. He played basketball and baseball. And they kept me busy going from one practice or one game to another. Kayla, she played softball and she played basketball for the rec department. She now cheers. And Kiara, she didn't do anything until last year. Last year she tried out for the high school cheer team and she made that. But prior to the accident, they kept me busy. So we was running here and there for practices, for games, all year long, every weekend, every day. So we were always doing something. So that's what life was pretty much. We were always busy doing something.
Yes.
And with church and outside organizations, they were involved with the NAACP. They did team court. So it was just business.
Yes.
Wow.
I love that though, because they were involved. They were keeping busy, involved, very active. And take us to October the 29th. The morning
of. So during this particular time, I had left Vance County Schools and I was now working in Wake County Schools. So I had to get up, and get ready to, prepare myself for work. And I normally try to leave the house no later than 6:30 because I was driving to Knightdale, which is an hour drive from, where I lived in Henderson. So I had to leave home no later than 6:30 to get to work on time. This particular morning, it was raining so hard. So I left home a little bit before my normal time. And before I left home, or before I leave home every day, I used to go wake the kids up, make sure that, I tell them I love them before I left the house and stuff. So this particular morning, just like every other morning, I got up, woke the girls up, went to KT's room, woke him up, went to my Asia's room. And woke her up. And then before I left out, I went back to my Asia's room. Like my Asia, y'all, go ahead and get up and get ready for school. Because it was a Friday. So just, doing my motherly thing, make sure they get up and get ready for school because I had to leave.
And so it's easy for us to just slip back into bed, or stay sleeping a little while longer.
So I had to leave, and they were responsible kids. They were mature, so they normally get themselves up and get ready for school. So this particular morning, just like any other morning, this is what happened. I left home. I noticed that on my car I had a low tire pressure, like it came on. So I go through Lewisburg to get to work. I stopped at the Sheets in Lewisburg to pump some air in my tire because, like I said, it was raining hard and I didn't want, anything to happen. So I tried to put some air in my tire and I don't know what happened, but it seemed like the air was coming out of my tire. So I went next door to the Speedway in Lewisburg to get air. And again, nothing that I was doing on my own seemed to work. So I called my stepdad, and him and my mom came down to Lewisburg. And while he was working on my tire, I got in the car with my mom because it was going down raining. I got in the car with my mom, and I called, called the kids, making sure that they were up. So I called KT because he was the one that was, definitely up when I left.
Yeah.
And I called KT. I said, hey, just checking to make sure that y'all are up. And he's like, yeah, mom, everybody, the girls, they're up. We're getting ready for school. I was like, okay. And KT said, I love you, mom. And I said, I love you too, son. And normally with them, I say it first.
Yeah.
But this particular time, he said it first. And I'll never forget. So he said, I love you, mom. I said, I love you too, son. Have a good day at school. And to back up a little bit, I worked at a school that was year round. And this particular week, we were just tracked back in. So normally when we're tracked out, I take Kayla and Kiara to school, and then Asia and KT would just go on to school.
Right.
So this was the first week back from the track out. And I was going to work, and when my tire and stuff was messing up, I had called my principal, let my principal know that I'm running a little late, although I left early, but a little bit late, a few minutes before the time that I normally use. I still was running late because my tire wasn't working. I had to wait for my stepdad to come to fix my tire. So eventually, get on the road, get to work, and then I get a phone call. And I was like, what did Tiffany want? She know I'm at work. So I ignored the first call. I think she ended up calling like 2 or 3 times. And, I answered the phone. I was like, what's going on, Tiffany? What's wrong? She was like, you need to come quick. And I was like, I need to come quick. I just got here.
Right.
And I was like, what's going on? And, I made her tell me what was going on. And she said, they didn't make it. And I was like, what do you mean they didn't make it? She said, it's been an accident. And Asian KT didn't make it. So when she told me that, of course, I left the school, drove back to Henderson.
Yourself?
Myself. I drove myself back
to
Henderson.
So you go, do you tell the principal, like you just
So I was in the room with Miss Roberts. She's an instructional facilitator at the school. And the school that I worked at, I was an instructional coach. So we were in the room together. And, she heard when I got the call, she heard me talking to my sisters on the phone. And she was like, just go. And I think I did attempt to call my principal, but, it was during the school day, so I don't think she had a phone with her. But by the time I got like to the stoplight or whatever, she was calling me. She was like, are you okay? She was like, well, come and let me drive you. I said, I'm already gone. And she was like, well, you don't need to be driving. But I drove. I was clear-headed. I drove all the way back to Henderson to the scene. By the time I got to the scene, Asia and KT were already taken to the morgue at the hospital because from what I told, they died at the scene. So when I got to the scene, I walked, to go back a little bit, they told me to come down 39 to go up Brockmere Road. And I was like, okay. So when I got there, I kind of saw why they told me to come up that way, because I think the roads and stuff was still blocked off, but they didn't want me to see the front part of the car. For those that don't know, they were hit, they were killed in a head-on collision. A lady crossed the line and, killed my kids. They died at impact right there at the scene. So I walked up to the state trooper that was still there. He gave me my Asia's license. He told me, his preliminary investigation, what had happened, and told me, that my babies didn't make it. And then, he asked me, was it normal for my son to sit in the back seat? And I said, yeah, because, the front seat was always Kiara's seat.
Right.
And I told him, I said, well, they had just left from dropping off their younger siblings at the middle school, and then they were going to school at the high school. And, KT's always sat at the back. KT and Kayla sat in the back, and, the front seat was always Kiara's seat. So he didn't get out of the car to get in the front seat once, the girls got out of the middle school. He just stayed in the back seat. So, that's what was asked of me at the scene. I left from the scene, went to the hospital. I had to go in through the ER entrance, talk to the people there. Mr. Massenberg, he was working as a security at the hospital that day. And tent, Lord Watkins, he came there to support. They walked me all the way downstairs to the medical examiner. And before I went into the room, or when I was about to go in the room, the medical examiner, came out and tried to, prepare me for what I was about to see. And based on, his descriptions and stuff, I decided that I didn't want to see my babies like that.
Mhm.
And that I broke down at the door. But again, I had two gentle giants, Mansberg on one side
Yes.
and 10 on the other. They was there to console me. So I didn't go in to see them, laying on the table, or I didn't go in to see them like that. But I ended up, going back up and out with family back in the emergency room part. And the reason I went down alone is because they would only let me go.
Wow.
They wouldn't let, any other family members come
Wow.
down with me. They was only willing to let me come down to see them, but I couldn't see them like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much the story, and
Wow.
that's it.
And so, how are you today?
From that day to this one, the Lord has kept me, and that is the testimony. Like, it's no doing of my own. It's not because I've been so good, or I've been so grand or so great. It's just God is good, and He's a keeper. And I know that the transition is something that we all have to experience when it's our time. And I think what has been holding me is that it must have been their time, although it seems premature for us, or for some people to understand, because they were only 15 and 16 years old. But that's, I guess, what's been keeping me, because we have to accept what God allows, and if He allowed that to happen, it had to be for a reason.
Absolutely.
Even though I may not understand or know the reason, but I have to trust that it's working for the good, whatever that good is.
Right. And so you talked about how they were hit.
Mm-hmm.
And so not only did you have to deal with the laws, but then after that, you then had to go to court.
Yes. So we went to court. Initially, it kept getting continued and continued. Then we went to court, and initially, like, seeing her, I wasn't upset. I wasn't mad. I can't explain it. It's just, I was okay. I guess I was just going through the motions, or I don't know how to describe it, but I was fine with seeing her. But I know, like, some of my family members, they don't have that same strength that I have. So,
Right.
So I couldn't tell all of my family members about when court was, or because they can't handle that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So most of the times we went to court, it was my mom, my cousins, my sisters. That's pretty much. Oh, and my kids' grandmothers, they used to attend courts and stuff. But every time that she went to court, I went to court, because I wanted to be that voice for my kids.
Absolutely.
Because they can't speak, they couldn't be there to for justice,
Mm-hmm.
or lack thereof. But
Right. And so, is that part now over?
it's over.
Good. Good. So, did you feel that brought you some closure with it just being over? Or, because I hear people sometimes when you watch court cases, and they'll say, we just want closure.
Mm-hmm.
And so they go through the trial, and then they feel like this is closure if someone is convicted, or if, certain things happen, they feel like that's closure. What was that like for you?
I was just glad that it was over. Like, constantly having to, see her face and, hear her reasons why, and, just all of that. I was just glad that it was over. Honestly, I don't think I would ever have closure, but I have peace.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I have
That's
peace.
good. That's good. I think peace is better than
Yeah.
closure.
I'm okay with it,
Yeah.
because I know I'll get to see them
Mm.
one day.
Yes. And so, with loss, so much comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just here today, gone tomorrow, and you pick up with your life, because now you are adjusting to a whole new normal. And it is something. And so I tell people all the time, the grief journey is something. And so for you, do you feel that what have been triggers for you? What have been, because there are triggers, there are things that take you back or put you in certain thoughts, and have you experienced those, and what could some of them be for you?
One of the biggest ones is just seeing car accidents. And that's why I no longer work for Wake County Schools, because, the drive, like being alone at first, like being alone in my car to drive to and from work, the commute was like a sense of peace, because, that was just my alone time. But then that turned into, instead of being peace, it was just like, I don't want to say turmoil, but it was just like too much time, too much idle time. And I couldn't handle that. And then, seeing accidents and stuff, it from what I was told, is like a PTSD. Although I wasn't in the car with them, it's still traumatic that
absolutely
caused me to have it. Well, still to this day, like I can't hear details and stuff about accidents and stuff, because it just is a trigger.
It's a trigger. It's a trigger. It is true.
So, what are some things that you have done up to this point that you would say contributes to the peace that you now have?
About, I would say, being around people of faith, people that can pray when I'm having, those moments and stuff, coming to the support group, being around people that has also experienced loss, staying in my word, reading my word, having a relationship with God, because without that, I don't know where I would have been or where I would even be right now, if I didn't have that relationship, if I didn't know him like I know him.
And it's the truth. I often think, I don't know how some people make it without him in a moment like
I don't even
this.
Think about it.
Right. Like, it is just.
Well, you see examples.
Yeah.
You see examples.
When people lose their mind.
Yes.
And I thank God for just keeping me in my right mind.
Right.
Yes.
Because, I had to make the decisions of, with the funeral arrangements and stuff, just had to write their obituaries, just had to pick out their clothes. And I couldn't have done it without God, because, I had to be clear-headed. I had to, make decisions, because like I said, I was a single parent. I was divorced.
Yeah, I believe it's a different path. It's a different, Wow.
And my girls, Kayla and Kiara, they, give me strength to, keep on pushing, and, they're my motivation.
And so I watch them, I watch them dance and, at the competition too, but like at church, they're able to dance and sing. And so I love that they are active. And, one of the things I don't know, some things are I just don't remember. I just do not remember just certain things. And I just think about Makai and Devontae and their journeys. And I would always say, like Devontae's life, of course, was flipped upside. Both of their lives were flipped upside down. And sometimes when Devontae would go back to his mom's house, I would think at least he gets a little bit of normalcy, just of the way it was. He's able to be with his other siblings and feel a little bit of a normal moment, even though it's just not. It's just not for him, because, even though it's just like we're all family, so it's just still, a void. And I talked to his sister through Facebook the other day, and it's probably, people probably think it's crazy, but we're just like family. Kavion, Kirika, and that is really how it's supposed to be. Me and Felicia used to fuss all the time, but we just have just this love, crazy relationship, right? But she is there. So like cheer competition, anything, she's always there. And I appreciate that. And so, and then I look back at Makai, and he didn't have anywhere he could go for a normal moment, to escape it. 100%. That's the perfect, word. And so he had friends, he did, and they were wonderful, times 1,000, still are to this day. And I talked to him, about it, just to see, where his headspace was. And so we were talking after the cheer competition, and I said, Makai, I don't know, I was there and I didn't see you in the moment. And he was like, yeah, I was sitting there. And he was like, like he was trying to be tough too. And he was like, I said, why am I doing this? Just let it out. Like, and so he cried in the moment, and I thought, and him and his dad were just, him and Devontae, were just in their own world, just, but it is just interesting. So I say all that to say, I am glad that the girls have one another. And I'm glad they have you. And so it is a lot. It is a whole new normal. And that's one thing that I say with the loss period, you have to adjust to a whole new normal. And people don't understand, because sometimes they see you moving and you have a smile on your face, you're working, you're doing this, you're doing that, but then there are still moments. And so I thought, here we are 15 years later, but there are still moments.
Because that hurt is still there.
Yes.
That void is still there.
100%.
That love is still there too.
Yes. And I think that's the greatest thing. The love is still there. And sometimes I often think of the what should have been, and I miss it, even though I never experienced it, right? And so that's a weird feeling, but it is my feeling. You miss what could have been.
Right.
And so I just love how God is using you, even through this, because your light is shining. I see people, I can't click all of the comments, but I do see people commenting, and I think your strength is just God.
It is. That's it. It's not like I'm not strong at all. I'm probably the weakest person ever, but it's God. It's Him. I have no other answer, but it is Him.
Yep. And it is just, Regina said it's a special club. It's the saddest club, eh? I often think
a club. I won't want to invite that.
I don't want anybody to be a part of. No new members, right? I just wish, and I hate it. I just hate it. I hate it. And so we really just pray for those who are experiencing loss, in this season. And that's another thing. So adjusting to the new normal is one thing, but then the first of everything seems to was the hardest. The first holiday, and so this happened in October, and then you have Thanksgiving right there. How did you navigate first?
So right after the accident happened, October the 29th, Kiara's 13th birthday was November the 10th, which is, less than 2 weeks after the accident. And they weren't back in school then, but some people from the school, they did give her a gift. And I thought that was really nice and special and, thoughtful and stuff. But with Thanksgiving, it was hard because, just with the memory, because, I took a lot of pictures and stuff. And I still take a lot of pictures because that's all you have once they're gone is the pictures and memories. But what came up in my memories was the picture from the Thanksgiving that year before. And then with this Thanksgiving, they were no longer there. So, but every year since then, I try to post a Thanksgiving picture with that picture from Thanksgiving of 2020, just to, see the difference from then to now. But it was tough. Christmas was tough. It was hard.
Yeah. I often tell people that I felt guilty to say it gets easier, but I think that it gets bearable, meaning that I'm able to bear it. As for, before it was so hard, but it gets bearable. So every year that comes and goes, it's bearable. And so that's the way that I describe it. And so
Greg Lewis said, Miss Branch, no matter what she says, is one of the strongest women that I know. I truly admire her strength.
Well, thank you, Officer Lewis.
Yes.
Yeah.
She is amazing.
One thing that we learned the hard way, we always heard that time heals all wounds. So we learned that time doesn't have the ability to heal. God heals in time. And what time does, time forces you and it teaches you how to live with the pain. So yeah, but time doesn't have the ability to heal. So that's a cliche that, I used to hear all the time. But finding out and experiencing it on a personal level, you'll find out that there's no truth in that.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's God that does it. And so one of the things that I have learned along this journey is that, and my pastor said it to me, he said, Ayana, God doesn't just want to heal you, but he wants to make you whole. And so for me, in becoming whole, I had to deal with every aspect of the loss. And so and I've said this to you before, but there are parts of it that I didn't want to deal with at the time that I had to deal with. And so that is one thing and that's why I say it's a journey. It's a step-by-step journey. And there is no time limit on it. And it's just in God. Everything is in God's timing. And so when I look at you, because I remember coming the day I heard it, and I remember coming to you and I saw you and I thought, is she numb like me? Is that what I'm seeing now? Because you were just, it was.
So I had learned that the people around me will react based on how I was. So if they saw me okay, then they would be, okay. If they saw me crying, then, they would be boo-hooing and crying. So I felt like I had to be strong because that's what my family needed. They needed me to be strong in order for them to make it through, because 6 weeks before my kids transitioned, my grandmother had passed. And that was tough. That was hard for all of us. But, during her service, I said, Grandma lived a blessed life, a full life. She passed at 90 years old. And I felt like the enemy tried to come in to, I don't want to say to test, but to, I guess to test what I said when I, said that, he's still a good God.
Yes.
And I said that when my grandma passed, and then I had to come back 6 weeks later and say the same thing, to declare the same thing, that he's still good.
He's still good.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
he's still good.
He's still good. Even in the midst of it, he's still good. And what I've learned, and I say this every single time, I knew God. I knew of who he was, what he could do, but now I see him.
Right.
So when I look at you, I see him again. And he keeps on doing it.
He's a keeper. He's a mind regulator. I mean, he just, whatever we need him to be, he is.
Yes.
And I just thank him for that, because it's sometimes that, I don't know how I'm making it.
Yeah.
But all I know is God. Like I said, I don't know every, scripture in the Bible. I don't know every story, but the ones that I do know say that, he would never leave us or forsake us.
That's right.
It's that he's close to the broken heart.
That's right.
So, and that's what I live on. Like, I don't know them all, but what I do know is that, he's a keeper.
Yes. Wow. That is the truth. So to that parent, mother or father, grandmother, whomever that, they may be dealing with loss right now, what would your word be to them in this moment to help them navigate to this moment, through this moment? Like, what would you say?
I don't even know.
Because there are no words,
Yeah.
Just experience but go through it though. Go through it. Go through the moment. Just experience it. Go through, feel all the emotions, and just go through it and experience it. But I don't know what to say to him. I don't know.
Yeah. Because there are no words. And I often tell people the gift of presence is the best.
Right.
That's the ministry of presence. That's the best thing. There are no words to really change how you are feeling right now. If I tell you that, oh, you're going to make it through, well, that may be true. I may be making it through, but it doesn't stop the tears or the hurt that I'm feeling in this moment. And so I think you're right. I don't think
and that reminded when you said that reminded me back when we were talking about triggers. I remember, leading or the day that it happened up until, I don't know, maybe the first year or so when people used to come to me and ask me, how am I doing? That used to bother me so bad because and I used to say as well as expected. Because I'm not doing good. I'm not doing fine.
Right.
But I'm doing as well as can be expected.
Yep.
So that used to be, well, that's my response because that's what it is.
Yeah.
But that used to bother me when people used to, especially, right when it first happened, they used to come to you, how you doing? How do you think I'm doing?
Right. Yes. It's the raw truth, it is the truth. It is the truth.
But yeah, that bothered me a lot.
Yeah.
When it first happened.
Maybe it should be a book of what not to say,
Not to say.
during grief moments. But thank you for sharing your story. It is definitely, and you have been definitely an inspiration to so many.
Absolutely.
So many people that are able to hear you, that are able to see you, and your strength that's what they see, and they see God. And so the Bible says when we're weak, he's made strong. And so I think that is what people are seeing, the strength of the Lord in this moment. And so God is going to continue to be our keepers. And so we encourage you, if you don't know Christ, get to know him. Get to know him. That is just the number one thing. And if you need some help getting to know him, please give us a call. We'll help you. But to God be the glory. I do want to, as we close again, thank you so much for sharing your story. It is amazing. It is amazing. God is keeping you.
Yes.
And how long has it been?
It's been 3 years, 2 weeks.
Right. Down to the second, right? But to God be the glory for what he is doing. And let Facetia's presence, my presence, June's presence be an example to you to let you know that God is a keeper and that you're going to make it through whatever you may go through. You're going to make it. And so thank you all for joining us on tonight. We want to announce also on Sunday, if you have nothing to do, to come to St. Mary's, 103 Dick Smith Road in Kittrell, where we will be having Family and Friends Day, and June and I will be there.
Yep.
And so we invite you to come and join us at 10:30. It is usually an hour service. And so service is usually at 9:30, but this Sunday we are having service at 10:30. So that is 103 Dick Smith Road in Kittrell. Please come join us for an hour of power.
Yep.
So we'll call it hour of power.
Hour of power.
So yes, you are welcome to join us. Bring a friend.
Yep. You won't regret it.
Anything else? I think that's it.
Yep. I think that's it.
And so, guys, we are praying for you all. Thank you all for joining. Hey, Wendy. Yes, Wendy, we already made it. Yes. Hey, Ivy. Hey, Tanisha. Thank you all for joining us. Hey, Alicia. God is still good. Yes, he is. Yes, I am so glad, Miss Hattie. And we'll be praying for you. She lost her only grandchild. So definitely. Oh, hey, Miss Doretha. Thank you so much for joining us. To God be the glory. Absolutely. Yes. Hey, Mickey. Hey, Tiffany. All of you all, thank you so much. Thank you all for joining us. Yes, yes, yes. Wendy, time it is everything. I'm just seeing the comments because I'm not able to see them up there. But guys, thank you all for watching us on tonight. Hey, Miss Brenda, thank you all so much, so much. Hey, Tracy, Mr. Greg, thank you for joining us. Thank you all. To God be the glory. We love you all. Good night.
Good night.